My bestie and I got transported into a beastman world together. She chose first, a domineering, noble king cobra that goes into heat 6 times a year, while I picked the loyal but infertile wolf king. Now the entire beastkin tribe worships her, while she parades hundreds of baby snakes outside my cave to mock me daily. She even ordered her hatchlings to bite my wolf child. What good is obedience and loyalty in this world? Whoever breeds the most offspring reigns supreme. I've borne the serpent king over 100 young, and you, she shot a sidelong glance at the wolf child cowering in my arms and sneered, took this long just to have one child, pick the wrong man, and the woman pays the price, pity you'll never have my good fortune, holding my child. I watched her saunter away, a cold smirk curling at the corner of my lips. What my best friend didn't know was this: 3 days later, she'll return to modern times with her domineering Ophiuchus husband and their 100-odd children. By the time Wolf King Drake returned with the news, I'd already applied herbal medicine to Rain's wounds. My heart ached at the sight of 3 fresh puncture wounds marring her fair-skinned calves. Fortunately, it was just a young snake that bit Rain this time. The venom wasn't particularly potent. Don't cry, Mama, Rain doesn't hurt. The 2-year-old Rain was remarkably sensible, immediately stretching out her tiny hands to wipe my tears when she saw me crying. Though wolfkind rarely bears offspring, once pregnant, they carry for 10 months just like humans. Even the children born to them take human form, but the Serpent King Overpeak was different. Whenever he impregnated Echo, she'd lay serpent eggs within just 2 months. Each clutch produced 7 or 8 hatchlings, though the newborn serpents couldn't shapeshift until adulthood. Consumed by jealousy over Rain's innate shape-shifting ability, Echo would always command her serpent offspring to bite Rain. Once, her eldest serpent spawn nearly killed Rain. Had Wolf King Drake not arrived just in time, Drake rushed back to the cave upon hearing the news, his handsome face etched with anxiety. Rain, Nora, are you both all right? This is all my fault. I shouldn't have gone out to hunt for food at a time like this. His voice dripped with self-reproach, and flames of anger flickered beneath his thick eyebrows. I'm going to key in right now to get justice for you. With that, Drake instantly transformed into his wolf form and bolted toward the cave entrance. I grabbed his wolf tail in desperation and shouted, "Don't go." In our past life, Drake went to avenge us and never returned. After his death, Kian took a liking to me and tried to force himself on me. Rain died protecting me, struck down by his serpent tail. On the day I chose to perish with Kian, Echo returned alone to the modern era. As if that chapter never existed, she seamlessly took my place in our parents' hearts. From a maid's daughter to high society's darling, Providence revealed we could have returned to our Orc world family, had death not claimed us. This time, I'll stop him no matter what. Drake turned back, retracting his fangs. I frowned and stopped him, with Kian leading the beastmen now. What would happen to me and Rain if something happened to you? You expect me to just stand by and watch you get bullied? Drake's silver-gray fur stood on end. Xiaohu bot prevents document forgery. For bookfinding bots, choose Xiaohu, reliable heavy checkmark and scam-free. I reached out to smooth down his bristling fur, then flashed a knowing smile. Didn't I promise to take you all away when the time comes? Just 3 more days. Then we're out of here. Deal. Rain cozied up to Drake's feet, acting all clingy. Yes, Daddy, let's do what Mommy says. Drake sighed helplessly before shifting back into human form in an instant. The next day, Echo successfully laid 20 snake eggs, completing their brood of 200 children. Henceforth, the beastmen revered her as the Serpent Queen. Kian hosted a grand bonfire feast to celebrate the arrival of 200 hatchlings. Echo specifically summoned me to attend, yet Drake remained absent on his hunting expedition. At the feast, Echo nestled demurely in the arms of the Serpent King Kian. A swarm of tiny pit vipers coiled around her feet. I instantly got goosebumps all over. Mommy, I'm scared. The rising and falling hisses turned Rain's face deathly pale with fear. I quickly held her in my arms to comfort her. Don't be afraid. Mother's here. Echo immediately let out a mocking laugh. Truly a lowly creature, frightened out of its wits just by the sight of my child. Other orcs nearby chimed in with fawning agreement. The Serpent Queen is absolutely right. A mere wolf pup could never compare to her royal offspring, and to think she's the Wolf King's only heir, with that cowardly nature, she must be a mole's bastard. Raucous laughter erupted all around. Echo was basking in the flattery, her face twisting into an eerie grin. Scared? Come take a closer look. You'll see there's nothing to fear. My expression darkened, startling little Rain into tears in my arms. Mommy, no, They're so ugly. A sinister gaze locked onto me with predatory intensity. My body turned ice cold in an instant, the slimy sensation of Kian's past possession making me nauseous. Kian narrowed his displeased eyes from his elevated throne, forked crimson tongue flicking across his lips. You dare call my offspring ugly? Rain froze in terror, stopping her sobs. Seeing this, I began frantically kowtowing to Echo and Kian. She's just a child. Don't take her babbling seriously. When Kian remained silent, I kowtowed even harder, the thuds growing louder as I started slapping my own face. Within moments, my forehead turned bruised and purple, my face swelling grotesquely. Right now I look absolutely dreadful, so Kian only cares about my face. Let's see if he's still interested when I look like a swollen mess. Sure enough, the spark of interest in Kian's eyes faded instantly. Whatever, Echo wasn't about to let me off the hook. With a malicious curl of her lips, she taunted me. If she's not coming, then you will. Nora, don't tell me you also think mine and Kian's baby is ugly. Echo knew full well I was terrified of snakes. Even earthworms and eels can make me scream bloody murder, let alone actual snakes. That's why I never even considered Kian when I first arrived in the beastman world. My blood ran cold, but maternal instinct overpowered my terror. Stiff as a board, I walked toward the writhing snake pile, letting the serpents climb over me until I was mummified in their coils. Echo's coquettish voice could be heard pleading with Kian. I've borne you 200 offspring, and my health isn't what it used to be. How about having Nora take care of me? They say she's quite skilled at caregiving. Kian spoke in a low, gravelly voice. Well then, I'll be expecting quite the performance tonight. Oh, stop it. Blushing, Echo playfully punched Kian's arm. After their flirtatious exchange, Echo was in exceptionally high spirits. Not only did he return me to my seat, but he even bestowed upon me a bloody chunk of pork rump. The moment I got it, the pungent stench hit my nostrils. Kian preferred the cold and forbade Echo from lighting fires or roasting meat near him. After all these years by Kian's side, she'd long grown accustomed to eating raw meat. But I'm different. Drake always grills the meat and serves it to me personally. Even my daughter Rain has gotten used to eating cooked meat with me. Echo read my thoughts, a flicker of jealousy flashing in her eyes. Then, as if remembering something, she feigned surprise. You're not actually waiting for Drake to come back and grill for you, are you? Echo's words sent a chill down my spine as I looked up at her. What do you mean? What have you done to Drake? Him? I'm afraid he won't be coming back. Echo's remark dripped with schadenfreude. The grilled meat slipped from my hand as a sense of foreboding washed over me. Could this life still be bound by the fate of my past incarnation? Without another thought, I scooped up Rain and bolted for home. The cave was completely deserted. Mother, you don't think something really happened to Father, do you? Rain burst into tears. Of course not. Wait here at home. I'll go find your father. Without another word, I bolted outside. It wasn't until midnight that I found Drake in his wolf form, barely clinging to life. Turns out Drake had been ambushed by Kian and other beastmen during a hunt. Kian had long seen Drake as a threat and seized this chance to eliminate his greatest rival. Drake was superior to him in every way. If not for Drake's poor reproductive abilities, Kian would never have become the orc chieftain. But Kian never expected Drake to survive the king cobra's venom, let alone for me to find him. Under cover of darkness, I quietly carried Drake back to the cave. His lips were turning blue, his whole body ice cold. With a choked sob, I threw myself into his arms. Hang in there, Drake. Just get through tomorrow and I can cure you. I wasn't lying to him. We'll be back in modern civilization tomorrow. Just one dose of anti-venom at the hospital will cure Drake's snake bite. Drake nodded weakly, trusting my words without question. Don't worry, Nora. I'll make it through this. The venom made Drake shiver with cold. I built a campfire while Rain transformed into his wolf form to keep him warm. At dawn, to prevent others from discovering Drake was still alive, I didn't wait for Echo to fetch me and voluntarily headed to her cave with Kian. The moment I entered, I saw Echo completely naked, pinned beneath a black serpent as thick as a barrel. The cavern reeked of that distinctive musk from a beastman's mating season. As they writhed together, glimpses of pink flashed intermittently along the serpent's underbelly. Echo panted breathlessly. Kian, stop, it's been all night. She's being impregnated again. Echo had just laid 20 snake eggs yesterday, yet today she's being implanted with new embryos. Yet she reveled in it, arching her neck proudly beneath the black serpent with satiated eyes. Is Nora beautiful? Your wolf husband could never match this ferocity. Could he? Oh, I nearly forgot. Your wolf husband died yesterday. What are you gaping at? get over here and wipe me down. Echo frowned in displeasure, lying on the stone bed as she issued her domineering command. Kian had already finished, coiled nearby and staring at me with sinister flickers of his forked tongue. I lowered my head and began wiping Echo's body with a cloth. Her body was slick with foul-smelling slime. As I held my breath while cleaning, a serpent's tail coiled around my waist and yanked me toward the headboard. Kian. What the hell are you doing? Echo rose to her feet, her eyes burning with jealousy. I never expected Kian to still find me attractive with this swollen face. The mating season of the king cobra is truly ferocious. Kian's slit pupils burned with insatiable desire. You can no longer satisfy me, so naturally I'll vent my desires with her. The moment he finished speaking, I was slammed violently onto the ground. The lust vanished from Kian's face as he instantly backed away 10 meters. Snarling at me with murderous rage, "You're actually wearing realgar," grimacing in pain, I scrambled up from the floor with an innocent expression. So this is realgar. No wonder no snakes or insects dare approach my cave after I scattered it around. Are you alright? Let me wipe that for you. With that, I stepped forward and closed the distance between us. A chilling glint flashed through Kian's eyes. Get lost. The serpent slithered away into the cave entrance, presumably to cleanse itself. I breathed a sigh of relief. Good thing I came prepared. Nora, it seems I've underestimated you. Echo wore a dark expression, smirking with barely concealed mockery. No sooner had your wolf husband died than you started seducing Kian. How shameless. As if reading my thoughts, she curled her lips in a contemptuous sneer. Just can't get satisfied, can you? Fine, I've found you a new mate. Perfect timing. He might not be as handsome as that Drake, but damn, this guy's got courage. No problem pumping out 20 or 30 offspring a year with you. With that, Echo signaled the orcs outside to bring the person in. I took several steps back, my face betraying a flicker of panic. I don't need Echo. Sensing trouble, I turned to bolt, but Echo had people pin me down. They brought in a beastman with rat ears and a dragging tail. Moles are the lowest caste in the entire beastfolk hierarchy. Not only are they filthy and foul-smelling, but they treat their mates with shocking brutality. Beyond forcing 3 litters per year, they savage their partners with mating bites during rutting season. My eyes burned red as I struggled desperately. Let me go. The little snake at her feet hissed excitedly, while the mole beastman drooled disgustingly all over the ground at the sight of me. Echo, have you forgotten that beastfolk can't be forcibly bound? Echo looked completely indifferent, even mocking me. Still so naive, Nora. The beastkin now revere me as the serpent queen. My word is law. She slapped my face violently, unleashing her pent-up fury. How dare you flirt with Kian right in front of me? Know your place, trash. Don't think you're still some pampered princess here. Now you're the servant. I am the supreme and noble serpent queen. If I decree you shall wed a mole, then a mole you shall wed. My face went numb from the slap, blood trickling from the corner of my mouth. I clenched my fists till they turned white, staring at her with smoldering intensity. Your sweet dream is about to shatter. Counting the time, I'll be able to return soon. This only infuriated Echo further, and she had the orc strip me of my hide skirt. The mole excitedly leaped right in front of me, its foul-smelling drool dripping onto my cheek. My face turned ashen. Just then, a wolf's howl echoed outside the cave. Mother, my face lit up with excitement. Drake, Rain. Echo's eyes widened in shock. Wasn't he dead? Drake charged in, carrying Rain, simultaneously snapping the neck of the mole rat that was on me with a single bite. Drake collapsed onto me after doing all this. I knew the poison had spread through Drake's entire body. It took every ounce of his strength just to come rescue me. Don't you die on me, Drake. Just hold on. I'll save you soon. I was crying uncontrollably, tears streaming down my face. What can you possibly do? No orc has ever survived my serpent's venom. Kian's voice came through, chillingly certain. Echo leaned against Kian with exaggerated delicacy, commanding the snakes at their feet to attack me and Rain. Nora, since you're being so ungrateful, let my children send your whole family to meet their maker. I held Rain tightly in my arms and slowly closed my eyes, but the expected pain never came. Instead, a beam of light enveloped Echo and me. What is this? Echo let out a shriek, his triumphant expression instantly replaced by sheer panic. After the flash of light, our entire family, along with Echo, his snake charmer, and the swarm of baby snakes at our feet, vanished without a trace. At the villa's entrance, 5, clad in an animal skin skirt, I cradled a 2-year-old child while a half-dead wolf lay at my feet. The butler's first reaction upon seeing me was to bolt in fright. "Uncle Wang, it's me." "Nora, don't run away." It took him quite a while to recognize me, the young mistress who'd been gone for 3 years. Without even changing my clothes, I immediately got the car keys from Uncle Wang and rushed Drake to the veterinary hospital. "Mom, is this the modern world you told me about?" I nodded as Rain, sitting in the passenger seat, stared in wide-eyed amazement. 5 minutes later, we arrived at our destination. After turning off the engine, I stepped out carrying Rain in one arm while dragging a wolf taller than me through the pet hospital's entrance. After the commotion, the vet's trembling hands finally managed to inject the serum into Drake. Wiping his sweat, the doctor couldn't help asking me curiously, "Are you cosplaying? Did this wolf really escape from the zoo? Since when do zoo wolves get this big anyway?" "Mom's zoo is." I quickly covered Rain's mouth while explaining to the doctor with a smile, "Yeah. I was cosplaying as a caveman for our zoo's anniversary celebration when suddenly the wolf scheduled for the show got bitten by a snake." Without hesitation, I grabbed the wolf's paw and slung it over my shoulder. "Gotta go. I need to return this ASAP. Rain, go open the door for Mom." Behind them, the doctor's mouth twitched uncontrollably. Meanwhile, screams echoed through Nora's family villa. "Butler, call the police. So many snakes, ah." My mom screamed and climbed onto the dining table while my dad was chasing the snakes with a broom. Countless black baby snakes kept wriggling across the pristine white tiles. The sheer number of snakes was staggering. There must have been 200 of them. Before Echo could process what was happening, the nanny had already beaten 2 of them to death with a mop. Seeing her children killed by the nanny, Echo's eyes instantly burned with rage. She lunged forward and shoved the nanny to the ground. "Mom, how could you kill my children?" The nanny finally recognized the woman in the bikini before her. It was her daughter who'd been missing for 3 years. Kian snapped out of his daze, his eyes burning with murderous rage at the sight of 2 baby snakes with their brains splattered on the ground. "How dare you harm my children? You're dead." Just as Kian was about to transform into his serpent form to kill the old woman, Echo stopped him. "Kian, don't bite her. She's my birth mother." Echo clung to Kian's arm, pleading desperately. "She didn't mean it. Mom just didn't realize these were our children." Kian's expression softened slightly. The nanny rushed forward and pulled Echo back. "Echo, have you lost your mind? What child? And who's this man you're dragging around? Where on earth have you been for these past 3 years?" Echo stood there speechless, at a complete loss for words. My mother, standing on the table, anxiously rushed to ask, "Yes, Echo, where's Nora? Weren't you and Nora missing together 3 years ago? Where's my Nora?" A flash of malice crossed Echo's eyes. "Her, probably dead by now." My mom was so shocked she nearly fell off the table, but Dad caught her just in time. "Honey," Echo lowered her eyes, feigning sadness. "Uncle and Auntie, please don't be too upset. Even if Nora is really gone, you still have me. Nora and I were closest. I don't mind if you see me as her replacement. And Kian too." 6. Echo pushed her nanny aside and approached Kian with a bashful expression. "He saved me 3 years ago. He's my husband now, and we'll take care of you together." My mother's face lit up with relief. Her voice choked with emotion as she tried to speak. Just then, the butler's voice rang out, who said Miss Nora was dead. My parents and Echo all turned to look at the butler in unison. "The young lady just took the car keys from me." Echo turned deathly pale, her eyes brimming with barely contained hatred. My mother's face lit up with hope. "Then where's Nora? Where did she go?" The butler recounted everything that had just happened. I was holding a 2-year-old girl in my arms, with a dying wolf collapsed behind me. As we spoke, the fire brigade arrived with professional snake catchers. My mother perked up immediately upon hearing I'd survived, directed the entire villa to launch a snake-catching operation. Echo stood amidst the snakes, blocking everyone's way. "Don't you dare catch them. Hands off my children." Hundreds of baby snakes huddled together, with the timid ones crawling onto Echo's body. "Don't be scared, my babies. Mommy's got you." The sight nearly gave her own mother a heart attack. "Echo, have you lost your mind? Those snakes can't possibly be your children. Get over here before you get bitten." Echo just scoffed and lifted her chin with pride. "I'm not crazy. My child would never bite me." The small snake at their feet arched its body into an attacking stance. Kian beside them pulled Echo closer by the waist, scanning the crowd with disdain. "You reckless fools dare speak of capturing my offspring. I'll make sure you never even know how you died." Echo's eyes lit up as she coquettishly whined to Kian, "Kian, kill them now. If they can't appreciate mercy, They don't deserve to live. With that, Echo turned her gaze toward her nanny. What are you still standing there for? Get over here now, you wanna die too, Kian nodded, sweeping his gaze across the crowd before speaking with commanding authority. Any last words? Spit them out now. My mother cast a pitying glance toward Echo's nanny. I whispered to my dad, did Echo have some kind of breakdown? My father sighed, probably went crazy from seeing all these snakes. The nanny's eyes welled up with tears as she repeatedly struck the small snake on the floor with her mop. Don't be scared, Echo, Mom's going to kill these snakes that frightened you. Witnessing the bloody scene before her, Echo let out a piercing scream. Kian's rage intensified, his eyes turning crimson with fury, just as he was about to transform into a serpent and devour everyone present. Someone unexpectedly scattered realgar powder from above using a drone. Amidst the hall filled with yellow smoke, Kian let out a piercing shriek. Kian, Kian, Echo called out for Ophiuchus through the thick smoke. When the smoke cleared, only twisted marks remained on the ground, and the man who had stood beside Echo had vanished. Hundreds of small snakes lay limp on the ground, completely motionless. When I returned with Drake and Rain, the professional snake catcher gleefully picks up snakes with his tongs, his face beaming like a blooming chrysanthemum. Jackpot. This is a real jackpot. 200 premium king cobras. Their gallbladders must have incredible medicinal value. Mom, look quick. Following Rain's pointed direction, I saw Echo's 2 snakes being yanked off by her nanny. Echo grabbed the snakes' tails. The 2 of them locked in a bizarre tug-of-war. Mom, let them go. They're your own grandchildren. I instantly recognized them as the same 2 snakes that always bullied Rain. These were Echo's firstborn. Since there were only 2 in the first litter, Echo cherished them dearly. She even named them and insisted on sleeping with them every night. As subsequent litters grew larger, Echo couldn't spare the same maternal affection and began raising the other hatchlings as pets. You're hurting my babies. I order you to let them go this instant. Heartbroken, Echo scolded her nanny fiercely. Let go now or I'll have my serpent husband devour you. Don't be scared, Echo. I'll kill this snake right now. It's these damn things that drove you mad, my poor, unfortunate daughter. In the struggle, the quick-witted eldest child sank its teeth into the old hag who was trying to kill them. The nanny yelped in pain and released her grip, sending both snakes tumbling to the ground. There wasn't a trace of concern in Echo's eyes, only cold satisfaction as she watched the nanny. Serves you right for trying to kill my child. The moment the words left her mouth, 2 sickening crunches echoed. Echo instinctively turned her head. The 2 pups' heads were crushed beneath the firefighter's boots. Finally wiped out all those damn snakes. The firefighter wiped his brow, face beaming with triumph. The professional snake hunter rushed forward, deftly drawing his knife. With swift precision, he skinned the snakes and swallowed 2 emerald green gallbladders in one gulp. He licked his lips with a satisfied expression. You've got nerve. Echo fainted on the spot from the overwhelming shock. Nora. My mom spotted me in the crowd instantly. Mom, I ran over and hugged them both. Drake came over with Rain in tow. Mom, are these Grandpa and Grandma? Rain's voice was soft and sweet, paired with that adorably clueless expression. It was absolutely lethal. My mother trembled with emotion, pointing at Rain and the tall man behind me, utterly speechless. I pushed Drake forward and began introducing them with the explanation I'd prepared earlier. This is Drake. He saved my life 3 years ago when I fell off a cliff during a hike, and this is Rain, our daughter, mine and Drake's. I gave Drake a meaningful look, and he immediately called out, Mom and Dad. Rain practically threw herself into my mother's arms, chirping, Grandma, over and over. I discreetly wiped my sweat. Thankfully, I'd just taken them shopping for new clothes and haircuts. Otherwise, I'd have been terrified my parents would notice something was off. Just 3 years ago, I was still a staunch marriage-free advocate. My mom worried about me day and night. Well, after disappearing for 3 years, he's back with our eldest granddaughter in tow. My mother hasn't stopped smiling since, and my father keeps growing fonder of his son-in-law by the minute. Drake adapted remarkably fast and won my father's approval in no time. At dinner, Dad even patted Drake on the shoulder and said he'd hand the company over to him, just as these words were spoken. Echo's nanny happened to be bringing her back from the hospital. The previously catatonic Echo flipped the table over upon hearing this. How dare you, 8. How come my child had to die while you get to live so comfortably? Echo glared at me with venomous eyes, looking like she wanted to tear a chunk of flesh from me. What the hell is wrong with you? My father turned to the nanny. Get your daughter out of here now. The nanny hesitantly reached for Echo's hand. only to have it violently shaken off with disgust. Don't touch me. If it weren't for you, would my firstborn and second child have died? You don't deserve to be my mother, nor do you deserve to be their grandmother. You're nothing but a murderer. Without pausing, she continued, Nora, you're the real trash here. She pointed at Rain with a hoarse, piercing scream. Why can your wolf cub shapeshift when my firstborn and secondborn cannot? It's not fair. This is utterly unfair. Your wolf cub deserves to be beaten to death too. As she spoke, Echo lunged toward Rain. My mom screamed in terror. Drake scooped Rain up and viciously kicked the frenzied Echo to the ground. Drake's kick sent Echo flying 3 meters back. I pinned her down and slapped her face repeatedly. That'll teach you to run your mouth. That's for your crazy antics. How dare you try to hurt my daughter? After dozens of slaps, Echo was left completely speechless. She could only glare at me with burning eyes. Feeling the firmness of her lower abdomen, my eyes flickered with realization. Then I whispered close to her ear, how can you say all your children are dead? Don't you still have a litter growing in your belly? Echo snapped out of her daze, her eyes sparkling with joy again. I got off her. My mother's eyes were filled with disappointment toward Echo. The thought of nearly heeding Echo's words and treating her as my own daughter filled me with even deeper regret. Echo, take your mother and get out. Our household can't afford to keep you two any longer. The nanny turned pale and immediately dropped to her knees, pleading desperately, Madam, I beg you not to send us away. I've served here for 10 years, and Echo grew up right before your eyes. Echo's just acting out because she's upset. She didn't mean any harm to the young mistress, Madam. Please show us some mercy. Everyone knows working for Nora's family means good pay and benefits, not to mention the mistress is kind and never nitpicks. At most, it's just some light mopping every day. If she loses such a good job, who'd hire an elderly woman like her? Before my mom could speak, Echo yanked her mother up, exasperated by her resignation. Why are you begging them? Your son-in-law is way more capable than Nora's man. Just wait and see how long they can last. Once Kian returns, they're all dead. With narrowed eyes, Echo shot me a look, her lips curling into a smug smirk. I tapped my temple and rolled my eyes at her. If you're sick, Echo, go get treated. Stop with this dramatic life or death nonsense like some cheesy novel tycoon. Echo responded with an icy sneer. Stop being stubborn. Let's see if your wolf husband can still protect you then. The nanny shuddered as she recalled that sinister, unnerving man from that day, but Echo's next words completely moved her. 9. Besides, I'm pregnant now. If you quit, you can just go home and take care of me. Echo caressed her belly with a motherly glow in her eyes. After the two of them left, my mom clutched her chest and took quite a while to calm down. What on earth happened to Echo? How could she lose it like this? What's this, wolf husband nonsense? I patted Rain's head and muttered casually, must have read too many fantasy novels. That evening, I had Drake shift back to his wolf form so I could examine his injuries. He pinned me down beneath him in one swift motion. Nora, Drake instantly reverted to human form. His warm breath fanned across my cheeks, eyes dark with desire. My wounds have healed. Nora, if you don't believe me, just touch them. He guided my hand, slowly moving it downward. I looked up at the sky in exasperation. Who was it that said the wolf husband was impotent? He's just infertile. Never said he couldn't perform the act itself. I swallowed hard, my gaze darting nervously. Stop fooling around. I won't, Nora, I want to. While chaos reigned here, Echo's situation was entirely different. TigerBot anti-piracy docs, bookfinding bot service Tiger, reliable and hassle-free. In the darkness, a python as thick as a barrel slithered up the drainpipe. Then silently slipped into Echo's room. Seeing Kian, Echo burst into tears of joy. Kian, you finally came for me. You have no idea how much I've suffered. A seething hatred twisted Echo's features. They slaughtered our children, every last one of them. Kian's human form radiated exhaustion, his face shadowed with grim despair. Don't cry. I'll make them pay for this. Those who harmed my cub and wronged you shall face my wrath. Echo nodded repeatedly, nestling against his chest like a delicate bird, but the moment she drew near, a pungent stench assaulted her nostrils. Echo recoiled 3 steps back, pinching her nose as she asked, Where have you been? Why do you smell so? Kian looked embarrassed as he pointed at the open manhole cover downstairs. I didn't want to be seen, so I came up through there. Echo's eyes widened in disbelief. That's a septic tank. 3 months later, Echo's belly had grown noticeably round. Under my father's guidance, Drake joined the company as an entry-level clerk, I asked Drake if he'd regret coming to the modern era with me. After all, it meant leaving everything behind and constantly guarding his true identity, but Drake just shrugged it off. Wherever Nora goes, I go. Did you know, before meeting you, I never truly understood what it meant to be alive. You gave me hope and taught me how to love someone. I'd gladly give my life for you all. Coming to this world with you was nothing in comparison. Hearing these heartfelt words, I melted into his embrace, pressing my face against his chest. In the end, Echo and Kian never abandoned their revenge plan. While driving Drake home, I saw Echo perched on Kian's serpent, waiting in ambush. This deserted road proved Echo's attack was premeditated. I stepped out of the car as Drake shielded me protectively behind him. Kian, if you dare lay a finger on Nora, you'll regret it. 10. Kian flicked his forked tongue, his slit pupils gleaming ominously. Without warning, he lashed his serpent tail toward Drake. Drake shifted into his wolf form, engaging Kian in a fierce battle. Echo caressed her belly, her eyes gleaming with malice. Nora, I told you I wouldn't let you get away with this. Today, you'll pay with your life for my 200 children. I remained composed, a faint smile playing on my lips. Who dies first remains to be seen. See for yourself. I pointed behind me. Drake had Kian pinned by the throat, the latter writhing in obvious agony. Echo screamed hysterically. Kian, how could this happen? All her malice dissolved into panic and terror. Of course it would happen this way. You've always overestimated Kian. Drake was always stronger than Kian. If not for Kian's breeding prowess, the beastmen would never have followed him. If you two hadn't let the beastmen set that trap back then, Drake would never have been bitten by Kian. As they spoke, the wail of fire engine sirens grew louder in the distance. Drake swiftly shifted into human form and yanked back the fleeing Kian with brute force. Echo turned even paler before stumbling and collapsing onto the ground. Nora, did you call the fire department? The firefighters' nets came flying toward Kian. Echo's expression fractured frame by frame, reeling from the blow. She felt a sharp pain in her lower body. But the Serpent King Guoshanfeng was different. Whenever he impregnated Echo, she'd lay serpent eggs within just 2 months. After that, help, there's a woman in labor here. Nora, you'll die a horrible death. After uttering those words, Echo was carried by 3 or 4 kind-hearted firefighters into an ambulance and rushed to the hospital. Echo's nanny received the news and hurried to the hospital. By the time Drake and I arrived at the hospital, Echo had already laid over a dozen snake eggs. The delivery room was in chaos, and Echo's nanny mother smashed all the eggs she had laid into pieces. Freaks, you're the ones who did this to my daughter. I'll crush you all, damn you. The last glimmer of hope in Echo's eyes faded into nothingness. A notification popped up on the phone. It was news about firefighters capturing a massive king cobra. The giant serpent has now been transferred to the local zoo. Kian was severely injured and, after being electrocuted by humans, could no longer shapeshift into human form. Later, I kept seeing news reports about a deranged woman who often lurked near the king cobra enclosure, telling visitors the king cobra inside was her serpent husband. Later, that king cobra died of depression. The madwoman also died at the zoo's entrance. Story 2. My family purchased a villa rumored to be haunted. My mother-in-law, too frightened to move in herself, insisted that I live there alone for a month. I refused. Upon which my father-in-law kicked me out the door. My husband went even further, locking me in a dog cage on the balcony without food. When the extreme heat wave hit, I suffocated to death inside that cage. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to the day my mother-in-law had pushed me to stay in the haunted house. I nodded obediently this time. I'll move into the villa first to make sure it's not haunted. Then you all can follow. By the time I've turned it into a shelter, it will be too late for you to join. Temperatures of 70 degrees are far more terrifying than any ghost. Rachel, you go live in the villa for a month to see if it's really haunted, and while you're at it, clear out the formaldehyde. A familiar and harsh voice woke me. I shuddered all over, feeling the pain of cracked skin and the dryness in my throat rapidly fading. My sharp-faced mother-in-law was handing me the keys to the villa, while my father-in-law and husband sat on the sofa waiting for my response. They wanted me to stay in the haunted house first, to clear out the formaldehyde. Once confirmed safe, they would move in. Clearly, I had been reborn. Glancing at the filthy dog cage on the balcony, I instinctively stepped back, overwhelmed with fury. In my past life, my reluctance to move into the villa led to verbal abuse from my mother-in-law, physical abuse from my father-in-law, and my husband Ansel locking me in a dog cage in a fit of anger. The family dog had died the day before, leaving behind a stinking cage that became my new home. For 7 straight days, I was locked in that cage without a drop of water, my pleas ignored, and treated as a source of amusement by Ansel and his parents. A daughter-in-law who can't bear a son is useless, not even worth a dog, since even a dog can have puppies. My mother-in-law despised me the most, feeling utterly shortchanged. She had complained long about the $80,000 dowry since the day she brought me into the family, and after my parents' accidental death, she completely dropped her pretense. She resented the $80,000 dowry, despite it being a very low price locally. Over the next 3 years, my inability to bear children led to countless insults from her. My father-in-law rarely scolded me, preferring to be physically abusive instead. Any slight displeasure would result in a slap or a kick. His life's motto was, "Women are meant to be beaten, they won't listen otherwise." My husband Ansel was initially decent to me, but after tests at the hospital indicated my infertility, his attitude towards me changed drastically. He saw me as an enemy, but that was not the real reason for his resentment. The real issue was that I wanted to see the medical reports which he wouldn't let me see. I suspected it might be him who was infertile. And he was pinning it on me. In my past life, when they forced me to stay in the haunted house, years of grievances erupted, and I angrily accused Ansel of being the infertile one, causing me to bear the blame for years. At that moment, Ansel turned red with rage, transforming into a beast. He grabbed my hair, dragged me to the balcony, and shoved me into the dog cage. Being physically weak, I couldn't resist at all. Once the cage was locked, Ansel began furiously hitting it with an iron rod. "You wretch, incapable of bearing a son, how dare you insult me? Why do you feel wronged? Aren't my parents your parents too? What's wrong with making you stay in the villa first? How dare you bring up infertility and throw such a tantrum? I'll starve you to death. You're worse than a dog, even though I've been reborn." The psychological scars and the endless hatred and anger are nearly uncontrollable. My whole body boils with the desire to kill Ansel, to exterminate his entire beastly family. But I restrained myself, knowing I couldn't kill them, even if it means destroying my own plans and forfeiting the chance to start anew. I must endure. I must hold on for 7 more days. In 7 days, a terrifying heat wave will strike, sweeping across the globe and turning the entire city into a veritable hell, with water cut off, electricity gone, rivers dried up, and wildfires rampant. All of this will be enough to kill any unprepared creature, but now, I have the time to prepare. I won't have to suffer in a dog cage for 7 days only to die under the scorching heat. Mom, as your daughter-in-law, I should consider your needs. Even if there are no ghosts, I should move in first. I suppressed my anger and smiled as I took the villa keys from my mother-in-law. "I'll air the place out, clean up, and in a month, I'll cook a great meal to welcome you." As I continued, I turned to my father-in-law. "Dad, would you like me to transform the yard and add a fish pond for your fishing?" My father-in-law, having nothing much to do, loved fishing but lamented the lack of space at home. His eyes lit up at the suggestion. "That's a great idea. You're so thoughtful. Get on with building that fish pond." I sneered inwardly but pretended to be troubled. Fish ponds are quite expensive, and I've been handing over my salary to Mom. "Dear, give Rachel some money. I absolutely want that fish pond." My father-in-law was hooked, and now I had money. Reluctantly, my mother-in-law handed over 30,000 yuan. She didn't dare oppose my father-in-law, who was prone to violence and feared him. With the money, my first step of the plan was successful. This money would help me renovate the villa's basement and install solar panels. Power outages during a heat apocalypse would be fatal. Heatstroke is no joke. The second step of my plan was much simpler. I needed to clear out the house's supplies. We had 2 large freezers stocked with various frozen foods, fish, shrimp, beef, pork chops, and more, all bought by my mother-in-law on clearance at the supermarket, intended to be slowly consumed, but they were hardly appetizing. She herself was reluctant to eat them but couldn't bear to throw them away, so she ended up dumping them on me. Thus, cooking at home often involved both fresh and frozen ingredients. They ate the fresh. I got the frozen. I was sick of it. I wished I could smash those freezers, but with the impending heat apocalypse, these unappetizing frozen goods would become life-saving provisions for the Ansel family. How could I let them have that chance? "Mom, let me move the frozen goods to the villa. That way, I won't need to buy groceries." saving money for the household, and you can buy more fresh vegetables. I stepped forward to open the freezer, surprised. My mother-in-law then nodded happily. Yes, 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 you're finally being sensible. My dear daughter-in-law, these are all good things. I've always been reluctant to eat them, making you eat them every day. To think, even a dog would refuse these. I maintained a submissive smile as I packed up the frozen goods. Seeing how sensible I was, Ansel rarely showed a pleasant face. Wife, don't be scared in the villa. There are no ghosts in this world. It's just old people being superstitious. Just keep my parents reassured. I paused, a cold sneer in my heart. Why don't you move in yourself and reassure your parents? Are you afraid that the villa might actually be haunted? I was fearful in my last life too, because a murder had occurred in the villa. We only found out from the neighbors after we had finished renovating it, and I deeply regretted it, but after enduring 7 days of torment in a dog cage in the sweltering heat, I was no longer afraid of any ghosts. I am the ghost, and I am here to claim the lives of Ansel and his family. I packed all the frozen goods and took most of the household essentials like firewood, rice, oil, salt, soy sauce, and vinegar with me, under the pretext of saving money. My in-laws were pleased. After all, a frugal daughter-in-law is a good daughter-in-law. Seeing the house almost empty, I felt even more satisfied. I truly was a good daughter-in-law. Without lingering, I called a moving service and headed to the villa. My mother-in-law, who rarely came down, came to send me off, waving at me. Rachel, if only you were this sensible and obedient earlier, I would never have had to scold or beat you. You must continue to be like this. Do you understand? I am actually very kind-hearted. I felt nauseous listening to her, but I responded with a smile. Yes, Mom, don't worry. I'll do whatever you say from now on. When I arrived at the villa, I moved the supplies into the basement. The frozen goods were not tasty, but they were valuable in a crisis. The basement was cool, which was good, though it was not very spacious. But in a high-temperature apocalypse, the lack of space was actually great as it would help with cooling. After storing the supplies, I immediately contacted a professional to install solar panels as soon as possible. My request was simple. They could choose the location for the panels, but the electricity had to be routed to the basement. The basement renovation was straightforward: clean it, then install lights, wiring, plumbing, air conditioning, and so on. Oh, and most importantly, freezers and water storage tanks. I bought 3 freezers and placed them all in the corners of the basement, filling it almost completely. I had higher requirements for the water tanks. I chose ones with a filtration system so the water could be drunk directly. In just 4 days, I had nearly everything set. 30,000 yuan was not enough, but I had a way. I sold the villa's valuable items like the TV, wardrobe, and exhaust hood. If my in-laws knew, they would be furious. They had put years of effort into renovating the house, and now I had sold their hard work. With money, everything was manageable. By the afternoon of the 6th day, the work was finished. The high temperatures were only a day away, and the air already carried an eerie, dry heat, reminiscent of a wildfire. I thoroughly inspected the shelter and sighed with relief. With this shelter, I could survive the high-temperature apocalypse, but there was one last thing to do. In the 6 days of renovation, I had already stocked up. The 3 large freezers were packed full with frozen seafood, vacuum-packed fruits and vegetables, and smoked meats and fish. Additionally, the 2 2-meter-tall water tanks were in place, ready with automatic filtration for drinking. These supplies would last me more than 6 months. The last thing I did was change the locks and seal the windows. I wanted to completely secure the villa, especially from Ansel and his family. Though the villa was far from the old house, what if they were lucky enough to escape here? I hired workers to install heavy-duty locks and secure every window with burglar-proof bars, both glass and iron. This way, unless they could perform feats of acrobatics, they couldn't enter the villa, let alone the heavily fortified basement. After finishing, it was already dark, past 8 in the evening. I was exhausted and washed up, planning to rest well, but then my mother-in-law called for a video chat. Holding the phone, I had just reached the yard when I answered my mother-in-law's video call. As soon as we connected, she asked curiously, Rachel, there aren't any ghosts in the villa, are there? I've been worried about you for days. I couldn't even enjoy my dance exercises at the square. Worried about me for days? Then why is she only calling now? Just as I was about to respond, my father-in-law appeared on screen, looking around. Rachel, how's the fish pond? Is it ready? I plan to come over later and do some night fishing. A chill ran through me. He He wants to come over. I quickly put on a nervous expression. Dad, maybe you shouldn't come over. I keep feeling something odd about this place. At night, there seemed to be footsteps on the roof. Ah, my mother-in-law exclaimed. Startled, are you sure? Oh my, could it really be haunted? Hearing this, my father-in-law also got cold feet, regretting buying a house that might be haunted. Ansel then chimed in, Rachel, are you sure you heard that? Don't fall for superstitious beliefs. I hope I'm wrong too. Honey, could you come over tonight and stay with me? I'm scared, I said, trying to appear pitiful. Ansel suddenly fell silent. My mother-in-law scolded me on the spot. What nonsense are you talking about? The place is haunted and you still want my son to come over. What are you thinking? I hung my head in silence, a smirk tugging at the corner of my mouth. Please, none of you come over, or I'll be exposed. Rachel, just stay there. It's probably all in your mind. Stay another 3 days. And if you still hear footsteps, I'll hire a feng shui master to deal with it. My father-in-law declared decisively. None of them will come. I'll just keep being the guinea pig. I nodded obediently. Looking utterly compliant, my mother-in-law was pleased with my demeanor, bragging as she ended the call. See, this is what a good daughter-in-law looks like. Trained by me, she wouldn't dare disobey, always so obedient. Bullshit, it was my doing. She used to be so stubborn, even blamed Ansel for their infertility. What a wretch. My father-in-law claimed credit. Ansel chuckled, seemingly unaware that the call hadn't ended. I think having a haunted house is pretty good. It might scare her to death. Then I can marry Prima. Prima insists on marrying me only if I get a divorce. Don't divorce just yet. Rachel has been well trained by me. It'd be a pity to let her go. Prima might not be as obedient. The call finally ended with a beep. I put down my phone, feeling utterly cold inside. Only now did I find out that Ansel was having an affair with someone named Prima. But it doesn't matter anymore. Ansel is going to die soon. Let him go to hell and fool around with Prima. Without lingering, I quickly entered the villa, locked the big iron gate, and sealed all the windows. I also locked the iron door to the rooftop entrance, ensuring that even if someone could fly up there, they couldn't get inside. After making sure everything was secure, I went down to the basement, turning on the air conditioning. A cool breeze washed over me. A soft king-sized bed was on the north side of the basement. Along with a sofa and a dining table, these were all moved down from upstairs, personally selected by my mother-in-law. Now, everything belongs to me. Recently, I've been exhausted, and I fell asleep as soon as my head hit the pillow, sleeping through until the next afternoon. Startled awake, I found myself sweating at the nape of my neck. Even the air conditioning set at 26 degrees wasn't doing much good anymore. Clearly, the temperature outside was beginning to soar. I remember clearly, starting from this morning, the sun turned brutally fierce, its rays piercing the earth like bullets. By noon, the outdoor temperature had already broken 40 degrees, and after midday, it shot up dramatically, quickly reaching levels that made it unsafe to go outside. For 24446, the temperature kept skyrocketing, a bizarre, apocalyptic heatwave began sweeping across the globe, catching everyone off guard. It was also on this day that I, drained and baked by the extreme heat, passed away. In my dying moments, I reached out, desperately asking the Ansel family for some water, but they just laughed at me through the window, thinking I was pretending even when I lay motionless. They didn't want to step out onto the balcony to check because it was too hot outside. My jaws clenched involuntarily as the sensation of thirst returned. I got up, drank a large amount of water, and lowered the air conditioning to 16 degrees. I could run the 3 air conditioners in rotation or all at once, while the solar panels outside worked at high speed. I quickly felt cooler again and comfortably enjoyed some cured meat with self-heating rice. At the same time, Ansel video called me. I wiped my mouth, moved the food aside, and then put on a face of panic to answer the call. As soon as I connected, I took the initiative. Honey, it's so hot, I can't stand it, and hid in the basement. I didn't turn on the air conditioning in the house to save electricity. Ansel paused, slightly relieved to see me actually in the basement. It's good to be thrifty, and the basement must be cooler, right? It's best if you don't use the air conditioner. Our villa was well equipped, including air conditioning in every room. If I don't use it, Ansel is happy. My mother-in-law, too, was pleased. Wearing her apron, she peeked in and smiled at me. What a sensible daughter-in-law, knowing to save electricity for the household. Mom is happy. I hummed in response and asked what they wanted. Ansel then got to the point. We've run out of groceries. You cleared it out last time. we're down to just noodles, and not much of that left either. Can you go buy some groceries tomorrow morning?" Before he could finish, my mother-in-law interjected. "Go buy groceries at 5 in the morning, it's cooler then, just leave them at the doorstep, don't come inside. Not that I mind you, but you said the villa is haunted." "Oomph," I almost laughed out of irritation. "I'm in the west of the city, and you're in the east, with the market right below your apartment complex. You want me to go grocery shopping at 5 in the morning? Seems like I was too accommodating in my past life, making me too handy as a maid." But I didn't refuse, I agreed right away. I planned to cut off all escape routes for Ansel and his family, day 7 at noon, although the temperature started to soar again, peaking around 42 degrees, outrageous but not yet terrifying. If they could seize this last chance to stock up on supplies and water, there might still be a slim chance to survive this apocalyptic crisis. I had already emptied Ansel's family supplies. They had no food left. I didn't stock up on water. If I refused to help them buy groceries, they would definitely go out to shop themselves and might catch that last glimmer of hope for survival, any possibility that might allow them to live. I had to crush, so I agreed. I continued to be their caretaker, but as a caretaker, I wasn't actually going to deliver anything to their doorstep. I just made Ansel's family think I would deliver the groceries the next day. They were just waiting for that last chance to slip through their fingers, and I comfortably spent another day. The next morning at 7, my mother-in-law woke me up, blearily. I answered the phone, and she immediately started scolding. "You lazy thing. Still in bed. I asked you to buy groceries. Where are they? Huh, didn't I leave them at the doorstep?" I got up at 4 in the morning and went to the cheaper market in the west of the city to pick a lot of meat and vegetables. I feigned confusion. "I left 3 big bags at the doorstep at 6:30, Mom, please check again," hearing my sincere tone. She went to check the door again, and of course, there was nothing there. She was about to scold me again, but I quickly responded, "It must have been the neighbors who stole them. It's so infuriating." "Don't worry, Mom, and don't go out. It's too hot. I'm worried you might get a heat stroke." As I spoke, I put on my shoes, pretending to rush out. "You all wait at home. I'll go and buy the groceries again." My mother-in-law calmed down a bit and even smiled. "All right, that's sensible of you. Go quickly. Ansel and your father-in-law will be up soon and they'll want breakfast. Maybe buy some breakfast on your way here too." Of course, I agreed to everything. After hanging up, I lay back down on my bed and continued to enjoy my air conditioning. At the same time, I started browsing the information on my phone. At this moment, the local outdoor temperature had already reached 47 degrees, and the officials had issued a high temperature warning, advising citizens not to go outside. People finally started panicking. After all, it was too hot. The power hadn't gone out yet, but panic was slowly spreading, and many were trying to buy food to take home and hide. An hour later, the outdoor temperature reached 48 degrees, and it was still only just past 8 in the morning. By 9 o'clock, the temperature had risen another degree, to 49. My mother-in-law called again. I didn't answer but sent her a message. "Mom, don't worry, I'm on my way. I've bought a lot of food and drinks, including your favorite scallion pancakes. My dear daughter-in-law, hurry up, we're all starving, and there's no water to drink. The property management just said the water is temporarily cut off. I don't know what's happening, we're dying of thirst." My mother-in-law urged me. I was thrilled to hear that. The water was cut off. Ansel's family had lost their last chance. They hadn't stocked up on water, and their method of soaking in water to withstand the heat was no longer viable. Also, they had no food, all waiting for me to deliver. "Just half an hour more, I'll be there soon." I gave them a deadline and continued to lie on my bed. The temperature continued to soar, and I turned on 2 air conditioners. The basement was chillingly cool, making it comfortably warm. But just half an hour later, the high temperature warning echoed throughout the city, as the outdoor temperature had broken through 50 degrees. Inside an air-conditioned room, one might hold up, but stepping outside was undoubtedly like stepping into a furnace. Not to mention Ansel's family. Even a family of Ultramans would need umbrellas to step outside. I was completely reassured. They were doomed, but I am a cautious person. 50 degrees still wasn't lethal enough, so I had to wait a bit longer. I decided to text my mother-in-law. "Mom, I fell down on Wenby Road. Half of my body is burned. Please come and save me. It hurts so much." My mother-in-law, not much of a typist, responded with a voice message scolding me. "You fell down. Do you even have a brain? Wenby Road is just 3 minutes from our house. What are you falling for?" My father-in-law then grabbed the phone and sent a voice message to Rachel, just come home, a fall won't kill you. And bring back the food. But Dad, it's too hot, I'm hiding under a tree, afraid to move, it really hurts, can Ansel drive over to pick me up? I pleaded desperately. My in-laws went silent after that. Ansel himself sent me a voice message, it's 50 degrees outside, how can I come to get you? The car windows might explode from the heat, call 120, and remember, ask them to take you straight home, don't forget the food. Well, there was no food to forget in the first place. I stopped responding. As if I had died from the heat, I was blissfully enjoying the air conditioning, watching series I had saved earlier, and indulging in delicious food, feeling incredibly comfortable. By noon, the sun became unbearably scorching, the temperature soared again. I thought it had only gone up a few degrees, but it actually shot past 60. I was shocked, it was unbelievable. At this point, even the most optimistic people started to panic. The temperature had skyrocketed from 50 to 60 in just 3 hours. How horrifying is that? Our community's property management group was in total chaos. The building manager kept posting various messages, reminding everyone to stay indoors, not to panic, and to wait for further instructions. But the water was cut off, and the temperature was still rising. Who wouldn't panic? My father-in-law cursed in the group. It's so hot and now the water's cut off too. How are we supposed to live? Hurry up and restore the water supply. Yeah, damn property management. Cutting off our water, everyone was furiously blaming the property management for inaction. The property management, feeling wronged, said it wasn't their fault. The whole city was experiencing water cuts. After a lot of arguing and increasing anger, my mother-in-law asked, does anyone have anything to eat or drink? Can someone spare a bun and some mineral water? We have nothing left at home, and believe it or not, someone did offer. A neighbor downstairs said they had some and asked my mother-in-law to come down and take it. I thought to myself that good people don't last, but disasters linger for ages. But no worries, this was just the beginning, the real drama was yet to come. The true disaster was the power outage. In such terrifying high temperatures, without air conditioning, who could survive, unless they stayed immersed in water? Fortunately, Ansel's family didn't have any water, not even a bucketful. I waited calmly. Another day passed, and the temperature had already exceeded 65 degrees. It was another hungry day for Ansel's family since yesterday's food was all gone. They begged again in the homeowners group. Initially, some people were willing to help, but then a firefighter spoke up. Everyone should try to conserve food and resources. The temperature is still rising, and it's becoming extremely dangerous to even leave our homes to find food. After hearing this, everyone panicked even more. And the neighbors who were willing to help Ansel's family went silent. My father-in-law furiously cursed, calling the firefighter a bastard. My mother-in-law cursed him, wishing his son would be born without an anus and that the sun would just kill him. The firefighter did not respond. He simply reminded everyone again, folks, get your water ready, fill up the bathtubs and buckets, brace for the heat wave. I think we're about to lose power. As soon as he said that, the chat group went silent. As if struck by a sudden emergency, soon after, everyone started to speak up. It's over, the power really went out. The moment the electricity stopped, panic intensified dramatically. Those who had stored water were somewhat at ease, but those who hadn't were in extreme panic, particularly my in-laws and Ansel. In the chat group, they desperately begged for water, saying they could fetch it in basins or even buy it. But at that moment, who would want to waste water? Every drop was precious. My in-laws' family seemed to be on a path to doom, with temperatures soaring to 65 degrees. It was as if a wild beast had burst through their door, invaded their room, and subjected them to a relentless sauna. 3 days later, no one in the group spoke anymore. My in-laws and Ansel, who were always begging for water, had stopped talking the day before yesterday. Perhaps their phones had died, or they were too weak from hunger, or maybe they had succumbed to the heat. By then, the outdoor temperature had soared above 70 degrees, and without electricity, the indoors was just as hot. I was enjoying the air conditioning and snacks when suddenly I heard the roar of a generator outside. The villa complex had started generating power. The communities of the wealthy were indeed different. Despite such high temperatures, they had power, but this was a luxury not available to my in-laws and Ansel. They were probably dead. I rarely stepped out of the basement, but I glanced outside through the villa window. Everywhere was intensely hot, but this morning, the sky was overcast, showing signs of rain. To my surprise, It began to rain. A few faint cheers broke out around the quiet villa complex. The temperature was dropping. I thought the heat apocalypse was over. But then I received a message on my phone saying it was artificial rain, which would last only an hour, urging the residents to collect rainwater quickly. The power of technology is truly great. But the temperature wouldn't drop much, and the terrifying heat wave would continue after the rain. None of this affected me. I returned to my basement to continue my comfortable life. After the artificial rain ended, I heard a loud crash. It wasn't the sound of the generator, but something had smashed open my yard gate. After all, the yard gate was not as sturdy as the villa's iron gate and was not hard to break open. Startled, I wondered who it could be. I grabbed an electric stun baton and walked out of the basement, peering through a security window. The yard was steaming and chaotic. A BMW lay overturned, all 4 tires burst, and 3 figures were struggling to climb out. My in-laws and Ansel. They looked gaunt and emaciated like refugees, but they were still alive. I couldn't believe it. With no food or water at home, how had they survived? Just then, my phone rang. There was activity in the long silent residence group chat. Everyone, please be aware, it was just discovered that the couple and daughter in house 2401 have been murdered, their bodies decayed, likely dead for several days. The family from house 2501, Ansel's family, are prime suspects. Someone saw them asking house 2401 for help. Entering the premises, all residents, please ensure your personal safety. It dawned on me then, Ansel's family had survived by committing murder. House 2401 obviously had ample food and water, and Ansel's family had resorted to murder to get through these days. Now, taking advantage of the rain, they had driven to the villa. We've finally made it to the villa. They're generating power here. We can survive, my father-in-law said, his face a mix of defeat and excitement. They dashed toward the house door. The grandmother burst into tears with excitement, limping over. The villa district is really something else. I didn't believe it when their property management said they had power. Haha, we're finally saved. Ansel was the most excited. He started off behind but ended up surpassing his grandparents and was the first to grab the door handle, shouting, "Mom, where are the keys?" The grandmother quickly pulled out the keys. Ansel, with his dry, cracked lips, tremblingly inserted the key, but it wouldn't turn. I couldn't help but smile. It was hilarious. Their cleverness had backfired on them. They rushed to the villa district because it had power, thinking they could survive. But little did they know, now not even a fly could enter the villa. I had anticipated this all along. The steam outside was almost completely evaporated. The morning was about to end, and noon was approaching with temperatures set to soar again. Ansel and his family were exposed to the harsh outdoor conditions. They couldn't get in, nor did they have time to escape elsewhere. It turns out some people really do rush towards their own demise. Why won't it open? Mom, did you grab the wrong key? Ansel panicked, frantically twisting the key. The grandfather snatched it from him and tried himself, but it also wouldn't open. The grandmother closely inspected it, insisting it was the right one. Then she looked at the door lock, her face turning pale. No, the lock's been changed. What? The 2 men were shocked and sweating profusely. Ansel, quick on his feet, tried to push the window, found it wouldn't budge, and resorted to smashing it with a rock. He shattered the outer layer of glass, but there was still a layer of security bars inside, bars that firmly blocked his way. Ansel's pupils dilated as he gripped the security bars and shook them violently. What's going on? Who did this? Who the hell did this? Of course, it was me. The grandfather, in a fit of rage, tried to break other windows and even thought about climbing in from the 2nd floor, but it was all in vain. The villa was like a fortress, impregnable. Rachel, that wretch Rachel. The grandmother suddenly thought of me and shrieked sharply. She truly hated me the most, holding a grudge over the dowry of 80,000 for many years, and she was the first to think of me now. Ansel immediately understood and started banging on the door while shouting, "Rachel, are you in there? Open the door for me." I began to sweat, not from fear, but because the temperature was rising again. The courtyard was bright, sunlight covering the BMW. Moving toward the door, the grandfather, parched and hoarse, growled, "Hurry up and find a way to open the door. The temperature is rising, and we have nowhere to escape." "It won't open. Rachel tricked us. She's hiding inside." Ansel trembled with anger. Last time she said she fell on Wenby Road must have been a lie. It was all a setup by her. How clever of you. I retreated to the basement door, blowing cool air and watching the main door. If they don't die, I still need to keep an eye on them. I want to watch them die. Perhaps guessing my thoughts, the grandmother suddenly burst into tears, banging on the door and wailing, "Rachel, you're in there, aren't you? Please, open the door, Rachel. I treated you like my own daughter. Remember who helped you bury your parents when they passed away? Bury, huh? If it weren't for the little inheritance my parents left, will you take a look? Nowadays, you still hold on to that inheritance." Seeing no movement inside the house, the usually irritable father-in-law suddenly became gentle. With his parched throat, he managed to squeeze out a voice, "Rachel, I'm sorry for how I treated you before. Please open the door. I'll treat you well from now on. You can have whatever you want. You are my own flesh and blood." Ugh, how disgusting. I felt a bit nauseous, so I turned around, went to the freezer, and grabbed an ice pop to eat. Cool and refreshing, quite comforting. "Please, continue." The in-laws couldn't continue. Parched, they could barely speak, leaning weakly against the wall, staring in horror at the approaching sunlight. It was Ansel's turn to speak. He walked to the window, his voice low. "Rachel, you're tough. I admit I wronged you. I confess, it's me who is infertile." Out of fear of embarrassment, I always blamed you, leading to constant disdain and scolding from my parents. The in-laws didn't make a sound. They weren't fools. They knew it was their beloved son who was infertile, but they, too, were afraid of losing face and reluctant to blame their own son. So, I, the good daughter-in-law, should bear it all. But, don't you have faults too? You're always so assertive, wanting independence and autonomy. Even wanting to see the sea and wasting money. How old are you? Ansel kept complaining. Think about it. Are you a qualified daughter-in-law, a qualified wife? You just think about being free, and look at that nonsense. See, yes, you do all the housework and cook all the meals, but isn't that what women are supposed to do? Why are you always so reluctant, giving us such looks, giving looks, so? Being exhausted and expressionless is giving looks, that made me laugh, and even more nauseous. So I grabbed a tub of ice cream and slowly ate it. Ansel continued to berate me, just like this time moving house. You really think we're afraid of ghosts or formaldehyde? We just wanted you to get familiar with the house first, telling you, you're the lady of the manor. Ah, that made me laugh again, looking at the sunlight. It was almost reaching the front door. The mother-in-law screamed miserably, continually retracting her feet. "It's so hot, I'm going to die." "Ansel, call your wife to open the door." That wench. Ansel was more anxious than anyone, gritted his teeth, and made up his mind. "Rachel, open the door. We'll share the housework in the future, and even considering going to see the sea." "Okay." He made me laugh again. I shook my head, went back to the basement, and closed the door. I couldn't let the cold air escape because the temperature was soaring back up. It will probably hit 70 soon. I had no intention of dealing with Ansel and his beastly family. Since the basement door was very heavy, it inevitably made a sound when I closed it. Hearing this, Ansel roared as if provoked. "Rachel, you're really in there. Open the door. I'm already like this. Won't you open the door?" Even the dying mother-in-law seemed to have regained some strength. She frantically pounded on the window, pleading, "My dear daughter-in-law, my good daughter-in-law, I was wrong. I'm bowing down to you. Please, open the door, open the door." Her voice grew weaker and eventually faded away. Ansel shouted loudly, "Rachel, Mom's collapsing. She's fallen. Please open the door." "Rachel, are you even human? Your mother-in-law is dead, and you won't open the door." His father cursed, seemingly squeezing himself toward the window. His head was small enough. He forcefully squeezed it through the window, attempting to push his way in. It was almost comical. The sun must have been fully blazing on them by then. Both his father and Ansel were like ants on a hot pan, cursively shouting and jumping in frustration. However, the relentless heat spared no mercy. Within just 2 minutes, all was silent outside. I braved the scorching heat to peek outside and saw my father-in-law's head stuck in the window, his body dangling lifelessly. He was dead beyond any doubt. Ansel, however, was nowhere to be seen. I didn't believe he could have escaped, so I walked over to the window to look outside. There he was, squatting in the shadow of an overturned BMW, his cheeks twitching, his body trembling, clearly disoriented. He spotted me too, and suddenly, fueled by rage, he cursed at me vehemently. "Rachel, you will not die a good death. I won't let you go even as a ghost." I nodded, went back, picked up a lighter and smiled at him. "Did you notice the BMW is leaking oil? I'm about to throw this lighter over." Actually, the BMW wasn't leaking oil, but Ansel was already out of his wits and terrified on the spot. He stopped cursing me, terrified that I would throw the lighter and cause an explosion. As I pretended to throw the lighter, Ansel, in his panic, shielded his eyes with his hands and ran straight into the sunlight. He aimed for the woods on the eastern side of the villa area where it was cooler. But after running only a few steps, Ansel slowed down, his shoulders twitched, his head smoked, and he gasped for air. A few more steps, and he collapsed to the ground, his body shaking like a sieve. Then, he fell to the ground, screaming in agony from the burns. I watched expressionlessly. He turned his head with difficulty, reaching out to me with his burnt lips parting silently, calling for help. This scene was so similar to my past life. I too was tortured in a dog cage. Exhausted and baked under the scorching sun, also reaching out silently crying for help. But what about Ansel? He was laughing, looking down on me with satisfaction as he controlled the life and death of his wife. Now, why wasn't he laughing? 7 days later, a sudden downpour arrived, and the temperature started dropping sharply. This time, it wasn't man-made rain but nature's mercy. The body of my father-in-law stuck in the window had already dried up, washed away by the storm to who knows where. Ansel's dried-up body was also washed away by the water flow toward the river. My mother-in-law was stubborn, clinging to the wall, not washed away. Quite scary. The villa had truly become a haunted house. But I wasn't scared. I stepped out of the room, shoveled my mother-in-law away just like she used to shovel me with a poop scoop when I was locked in the dog cage. The downpour finally took her away too. That night, the temperature dropped to 52. Life was possible, though still challenging. By early the next morning, the temperature dropped to 43, life was not so difficult anymore. In the evening, some homeowners stepped out of their homes, crying tears of joy in the drizzling rain. The heat apocalypse had ended. This disaster took many lives and caused societal unrest. Cleaning up the dead bodies took a massive amount of time. Many things remained unclear and unaccountable, like how Ansel and his family died. It could only be defined as death by heat. Moreover, they were murderers. They deserved to die. No one came to investigate me. I easily inherited everything from the house, including the old house and the villa, and even Ansel's money. Once social order was restored, I left the city at the first opportunity, heading for the long-dreamed-of sea. I wanted to see the sea. I'm from inland, never having seen the ocean before. When we were married, I asked Ansel full of anticipation if he could take me to see the sea. He agreed immediately, but later, my mother-in-law called it a waste of money. My father-in-law said it was frivolous. Later on, when I couldn't have children, Ansel slapped me across the face and said, "What are you looking at the sea for? Society really treats women too well these days, expecting them to be revered like ancestors. Would you die if you didn't look at the sea? Would I die if I didn't look at the sea? That's a good question." Standing by the seaside, listening to the roaring waves, I began to laugh radiantly. I could answer, yes, not seeing the sea, I really might die. Haven't you all died already? If only you had taken me to see the sea at the beginning, treated me like a human being, would I have become so heartless? I opened my arms to the vast ocean and shouted loudly, "Now, I am not wasting money, I am not being overly sensitive. Finally, I am freely here to see the sea."